A fungus is a unique and mysterious spore-producing organism that includes mold, yeast, and mushrooms. Fungi have had a profound influence on human history for thousands of years, shaping behavior, beliefs, and even spiritual practices. From ancient rituals to sacred texts, these mysterious organisms have left their mark on cultures across the world. Yet despite their influence to life on Earth, fungi are notably absent from the creation story in the book of Genesis, making their presence all the more mysterious. Across cultures, they have been revered as symbols of enchantment, woven into legends and beliefs as powerful agents of magic and the mystical. In many European traditions, mushrooms are deeply linked to the mystical and magical realms. They are frequently associated with fairies, elves, and other mythical beings. One of the most iconic examples is the fairy circle, a naturally occurring ring of mushrooms, which holds a prominent place in European folklore as a portal to the supernatural. In Ireland, the folklore surrounding fairy circles is especially vivid and steeped in superstition. These mysterious rings were believed to be the dancing grounds of fairies, whose revelry could be mischievous or even malevolent. Disturbing a fairy circle was thought to invite misfortune or something far worse. Similarly, in Germanic mythology, mushroom rings were known as witches' dancing circles, further reinforcing their eerie and supernatural reputation. In Slavic cultures, mushrooms play various roles in folklore, with one of the most revered being the red and white Amanita muscaria. Frequently depicted in folk art, the Amanita muscaria is believed to possess magical properties and holds a special place in myth. This mushroom is closely tied to the ancient Slavic deity Yeast, the god of earth, waters, forests, and the underworld. Yeast, often portrayed as a horned figure, was believed to offer the Amanita muscaria to humans as a sacred gift. Psychoactive mushrooms, particularly those in the psilocybin species, have long been used in religious and shamanistic rituals across various cultures, where their effects were often regarded as divine or otherworldly. Among the indigenous peoples of Central and South America, these mushrooms held profound significance in religious and divinatory ceremonies. The ancient Maya and Aztec civilizations revered them as the flesh of the gods, and their use was closely regulated by religious leaders. In Aztec culture, the sacred mushroom was known as Teonanacatl, and depictions of mushroom gods can still be found in the archaeological record of the region. The comparative beliefs of these cultures reveal a shared understanding that fungi were seen as portals or conduits to the spirit world. In ancient Egypt, yeast was crucial in making bread and beer, both staples of the diet. It was seen as a divine gift, particularly associated with the god Osiris, who was linked to agriculture and rebirth. Osiris was believed to have introduced the knowledge of bread and beer making to humans, making yeast a symbol of life and prosperity. Bread and beer were not only essential for daily nourishment, but also important in religious offerings to the gods. In the Old Testament, yeast is frequently depicted as a symbol of sin and impurity. Numerous scriptures warn against its use, with sacrifices explicitly forbidden from containing yeast. Grain offerings were to remain unleavened, and yeast was prohibited from being placed on the same altar as blood sacrifices. The aversion to yeast held deep cultural and spiritual significance, particularly as a rejection of Egyptian practices, where bread and beer, both heavily reliant on yeast, were central to maintaining social control and power. For the ancient Israelites, the act of removing yeast was seen as a purification ritual. During certain times of the year, homes were carefully cleansed of leaven, symbolizing the removal of sin and impurity from their lives. These rituals reflect a broader theme of spiritual cleanliness that runs through the Israelite tradition. This concept of purification through the rejection of yeast carries over into Christianity as well. In the New Testament, Jesus Christ's teachings often symbolize the removal of sin from the body, with the avoidance of yeast serving as a powerful metaphor for moral, spiritual cleansing, and physical cleansing. By interpreting sin as yeast and the act of removing it as a form of healing, Jesus' message takes on a deeper meaning, emphasizing the importance of ridding oneself of impurities. In this context, his teachings become a lesson in rejecting the metaphorical fungus of sin to achieve spiritual renewal. Jesus was known for fasting for extended periods, consuming unleavened bread, and drinking wine. Fasting naturally has antifungal properties. Choosing unleavened bread also reduces exposure to potentially harmful yeasts. Additionally, red wine contains resveratrol, a compound known to support immune function and effectively combat fungal growth. We can draw several lessons from the story of Jesus Christ, emphasizing the importance of avoiding harm to the body by steering clear of sin, something he taught also corrupted the spirit. In the book of Leviticus, priests were instructed to inspect homes that showed signs of mold or mildew, treating the presence of such growth not just as a physical issue, but as a spiritual concern. Leviticus chapter 14 outlines a detailed process where a priest would examine the affected house, quarantine it, and return after 7 days to reassess. If the mold had spread, the contaminated stones of the home were to be removed and replaced. In severe cases, the entire house could be torn down. The involvement of priests, rather than builders, healers, or physicians, in inspecting homes with mold in Leviticus suggests that the issue was seen as more than a physical or structural problem. It implied a potential spiritual defilement, possibly even a manifestation of an unseen malevolent presence. The ritual inspection and purification process, including scraping, replacing stones, or even demolishing the house, reflected a belief that such contamination could threaten the spiritual health of the inhabitants and the community at large. We can come to the possible conclusion that the mold was a type of demonic conduit based off of the comparative experiences of many people who have lived in mold-infested homes and have experienced a type of demonic presence. Hence why a priest within the Old Testament accounts of mold in the home in the book of Leviticus had to get involved in this issue. It is reasonable to interpret the biblical account of mold in Leviticus as pointing to something more than a physical issue, possibly even a spiritual or demonic influence. Many modern testimonies from individuals who had lived in mold-infested homes describe not only health problems, but also feelings of fear, oppression, or a dark presence, suggesting a deeper, unsettling reality. Across Reddit, many people have wrote about their negative experiences living in mold-infested homes. One person wrote, "Do you believe mold brings bad energy?" So a weird connection I have made recently is that when something always feels off, and I feel dark energy at my place or in my life, I always find that there is mold somewhere. The energy feels clear once it's cleaned. I have multiple instances of finding mold on bread or in the sink, and it's so odd that I could feel that dark energy, but just didn't know where. It's so scary and frightening for me to even touch it. I feel that I always find it when I'm in a place of clarity as well, or needing a cleanse. I don't know if it's just because I'm in touch with the spiritual world, or just a nut, but very curious what your guys' take is on it. Mold is such an interesting phenomenon in itself. There has to be spiritual ties. Another Reddit user posted a question about the connection between mold and nightmares, and several others responded sharing similar experiences and confirming the link. Does mold cause very vivid dreams or nightmares? After moving out to my new apartment, I had vivid dreams every night for about a year. I can't tell if it's because of undetected mold. I have had bad dreams nearly every night since moving to a home with mold problem. I am sorry you are going through this too. Absolutely yes, had them when I was living in mold, and they don't happen now that I'm out of mold. However, if I spend time in a moldy place, I'll have nightmares for several nights after. Also, never had much anxiety growing up. Had crazy anxiety when living in bad mold. Anxiety basically went away when I got out of mold. There are countless accounts online of people describing disturbing, seemingly demonic experiences while living in mold-infested homes. And I can personally confirm the similarities through my own experience. In 2022, I spent nearly 2 years living in a townhouse, where I encountered an unusual high number of paranormal events. These included frequent sightings of shadowy figures, episodes of sleep paralysis, and vivid, hyper-realistic nightmares, far more intense and frequent than anything I had ever experienced in any other place that I've lived. One experience in particular left me unsettled the night it happened. One night, as I was falling asleep, I felt a presence hovering over my body, paralyzing me from speaking or moving. When I opened my eyes, I saw a dark, shadowy figure hovering above me. Unable to move or speak, the only thing I could do was close my eyes to avoid looking at the entity any longer. As I closed my eyes and tried to open them again, I found myself in a strange, liminal room with green grass, scattered all around. Much like the eerie images you'd see on 4chan or the backrooms theory. This didn't feel like a dream because I was fully aware that I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. As I looked around the room, visibly disturbed and terrified, I saw a strange entity in front of me. It had black and white checkerboard and zigzag patterns, constantly morphing into different shapes, like a wolf and a human. Seeing this entity shocked me. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. All I could do was try to cry out to Jesus for help in my paralyzed, terrified state. After that, I suddenly woke up, still spooked and unsettled for the rest of the day. Ever since moving out of that townhouse, the paranormal experience have completely and abruptly stopped, making me consider the possibility that my house was infested with mold. Fungus has also been theorized as a culprit during some of history's most bizarre events, such as the Salem witch trials and the dancing plagues of Europe. The Salem witch trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts in 1692. During this period, many young girls began exhibiting strange symptoms, convulsions, hallucinations, and uncontrollable fits. These behaviors were often attributed to demonic possession or witchcraft, leading to mass hysteria and the execution of over 20 people. Some researchers have suggested that ergot poisoning could have been a contributing factor. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye, and when consumed, it produces alkaloids similar to LSD. These alkaloids can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and other symptoms resembling the behaviors observed in the Salem victims. During the 17th century, rye was a staple crop, and poor storage conditions could have led to the growth of ergot in the grain. If people consume contaminated bread or food made from infected rye, they may have experienced the symptoms that led to the witch trials. Another bizarre historical event linked to fungus is the so-called dancing plagues that struck Europe during the 16th century. The most infamous of these occurred in 1518, when a group of people in Strasbourg, Germany, suddenly began dancing uncontrollably in the streets for days or even weeks. Some dancers reportedly danced until they collapsed, or even died from exhaustion or stroke. The strange phenomena was described by contemporary sources as a dancing mania, and was widely regarded as a form of possession or divine punishment. The victims' movements were described as spasmodic and riddled with convulsions, their bodies drenched in sweat, their arms trashed uncontrollably, and witnesses often remarked on their vacant, lifeless eyes. Cries for help echoed from the afflicted, filled with desperation and fear. Those who didn't succumb to heart failure eventually collapsed from overwhelming exhaustion, starvation, and dehydration. At the heart of the outbreak, as many as 15 people died each day. The true number of fatalities remains unknown to this day. One theory that has gained traction is that the cause of the dancing plague could be ergot poisoning. The theory suggests that ergot contamination in the local food supply could have led to the hallucinations and uncontrollable movements observed in the afflicted individuals. Just like the Salem witch trials, the alkaloids in ergot may have triggered symptoms such as spasms, hallucinations, and delirium, which could have been interpreted as a kind of mass hysteria or supernatural influence. Throughout history, fungi have often been linked to the supernatural, appearing mysteriously, thriving in darkness and decay, and playing central roles in ancient myths, shamanic practices, and altered states of consciousness. This mystical association may help explain why in many religious traditions, the purification of space involves countering fungal presence, both symbolically and physically. In the Old Testament, incense was used to sanctify holy places, a practice that has endured in many Christian traditions, especially among Orthodox, Catholic, and some Anglican communities. Far from being purely ceremonial, the ingredients used in traditional incense, such as myrrh and frankincense, carry potent antimicrobial and antifungal properties. These resins not only fill the air with sacred aroma, but also helped cleanse it of pathogens. Thus, the use of incense served a dual function: spiritual purification and physical sanitation. In many cases, physical sanitation is also a spiritual issue, such as with mold. Taking all of this into account, it becomes evident that the biblical commandments may serve as a safeguard against these demonic conduits, as stated in the book of 2 Corinthians, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was very fruitful. This topic was very unique and very interesting to look into, one of my top favorites. And it definitely shows just how bizarre fungus really is. It's almost like some type of alien species. And because of this, I encourage you guys to follow the biblical commandments on health. And with all of this in mind, I put some links in my bio. With all this in mind, I put some Amazon links in my account to products you can purchase to help cleanse your home, such as Christian incense that's made from frankincense, which has powerful, potent antimicrobial, antifungal properties, and also air purifiers as well. Not only is it important to cleanse your homes of possible mold and protect it, it's also important to cleanse your bodies as well, which is why we should consider the biblical commandments, especially any commandment from God that has to do with diet. Personally, I consider fungus unclean to consume, which is why I believe we should also go out of our way to avoid products that have fungi in it, such as products containing citric acid as a preservative. I'll also have some Amazon links to some herbs you can use, such as wormwood, and other herbs that are recommended in order to cleanse yourself. But again, diet comes first before trying any kind of cleanse. Make sure you fix your diet and you follow the commandments. Don't eat unclean, eat clean, fast, and most importantly, pray. But once again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please let me know your honest thoughts in the comment section below if you have any further insight. If you'd like to support this channel, I did publish a book back in December called Soul in the Belly. It is a self-help book on diet and health that is biblically based and has many scientific explanations for many of God's commandments, such as the diet law, fasting, and the benefits of it. If you'd like to support this channel in another way, you can become a channel member or join my Patreon. The links for all that will be in the bio below. Once again, thank you so much. Please like, share, comment, and I'll see you next time.